Good evening. I'd like to call the Board of Health meeting to order at 6:31 p.m. First up on the agenda, if everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah. Okay, up next, number 2, to accept the minutes of the June 18th, 2019 meeting.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of the June 18th, 2019 meeting.
I second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
No.
Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Number 3, we have a public hearing for 89 Klondike Road septic plan application for local upgrade approval. Septic system and components cannot meet the setback requirements. So, you're here for that. I will open our public hearing at 6:32 p.m. Hi.
Good evening.
If you can just identify who you are.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
My name is Shelley Helpgren. I'm actually filling in for the engineer of record, Mark Farrell. And so he asked me to stand in for him. He couldn't be here tonight. This is a septic system upgrade that cannot, as you mentioned, meet a number of required setbacks. But due to the limited lot size and the proximity to property lines, foundation, and wells, we're asking for the board's discretion to approve local upgrade approvals.
Okay.
So there are a number. I think that Tom is familiar with those.
Yeah, they're all listed here, so let me just go through.
Okay.
So the soil absorption system does not meet the required setback from a well. 100 feet required, 65 feet provided. Second variance would be does not meet the required setback from a well. 100 feet required, 85 feet provided. And that's two separate adjacent properties.
Correct.
Proposed septic tanks do not meet the required setback from a well. 50 feet required, 35 feet provided. And then the soil absorption system does not meet the required setback from property line. 10 feet required, 5.1 feet provided. Variance, the proposed soil absorption system does not meet the required setback from a property line. 10 feet required, 5.1 feet provided. And then the proposed septic tanks do not meet the required setback from a property line, 10 feet to 6 feet. And then the soil absorption system does not meet the required setback from a foundation, 20 feet required to 6 feet provided. And that would be their own foundation?
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And then the proposed leach field is not fully sized, 446 square feet required, 375 square feet provided, 16% reduction.
Yes.
Okay.
And up to a 25% reduction is
Okay.
allowed. So.
All right. So, Tom.
Based on, I did get an opportunity to review the plan. This falls into a more of a generalization of maximum feasible compliance. There's a certain series of evolutions that we have to go to for making designs. We have to accommodate for one set of rules, and then if that doesn't work, and it's a pre-existing house, we go to the next set and the next set. This is about the third or fourth set down the line. Mark obviously designed the best that he could for all of considering the site. The only thing that his application and all the paperwork is in, except for one thing that I don't see, and that's the green cards from the certified mailings. And do we have those?
Yes, I do, Tom.
Okay. Yep. Beautiful. My question, you can bring them up, that's fine.
Okay.
My question is, how many bedrooms is
This is an existing 3-bedroom house.
Okay.
It'll never
Never be more.
never be more than 3.
Okay.
There are some that these are the green cards that have received,
Okay.
and these are the notifications that we have not.
Okay. But at least they all went out, so that's good. Beautiful.
Yeah, this is a 3-bedroom, no increase in flow, just merely a simple upgrade which allows for the approval of local upgrades. And like Tom said, it's maximum feasible compliance. There aren't many options on lots like this.
Right. It's a small lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are,
And these are on the water?
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, these are real postage stamp lots. In fact, I think this one, no.
This one is
this
not
one-
on the water.
Not on the
Okay.
water.
This is across the road.
Across the
I
road.
actually live, Klondike turns into Beach in Charlton, Beach Road.
Right.
And I live on Beach Road, so this is, turns out,
Yeah, the beach is,
Hap-
and the water is on this side.
yeah,
Okay.
happens to be one of my neighbors. But yeah, they're all small lots. There aren't many options for this.
This is the backside of Calissa's farm.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
exactly, yep.
Is this an upgraded system? Is this what we're doing, is upgraded?
Yes. Okay. Do you guys have any questions for Tom?
So an existing septic system was in place and
Right.
has it failed or just not?
Yeah, but what they have is they have a septic system that's in failure. Actually, it's not a septic system, I believe it's a cesspool.
Okay.
Yep.
It's already on the property.
Exactly, yeah.
And,
Any of these houses that,
you can't modify
Cesspools.
cesspools, or you can't repair them.
yeah,
Right.
okay.
So they have to upgrade them to the maximum feasible compliance. What this does is this brings it from a rudimentary or a primary system where you just dump everything in the ground versus the tanks and separating becomes a treatment system, and it becomes like a secondary treatment. The effluent becomes clarified more than just dumping everything into the ground, so.
Okay.
And these are, the soils here are all, they're the most desirable soils for the treatment of the effluent that you could ask for. Sandy material that will really, it's not like a till, it's not compact. The effluent's going to be treated very, to the maximum allowable, so.
Okay.
What does it mean? So it says 100 feet required, but 65 feet provided. That's the amount of room that they have? So it's
That's the
short?
only available space that they have, is only 65 feet. What I can do to try to exemplify or give you an example of pre-existing laws before Title V came into play. Title V came in 1978. There were an awful lot of lots where the septic systems were already only 50 feet from wells, and that's pre-existing a lot of places. Until 78 was when they started changing to the 100-foot requirement. 85 was when the hammer came down that really the 100-foot was mandatory.
The minimum that's allowed is 50.
That's the minimum
Okay.
separation.
Okay.
So we are providing 15 extra feet.
That was only to prevent migration of sewerage into the wells. But even now with artesian wells, if we're doing gravel-packed wells, well, that's a whole different ballgame. But artesian wells are in a bedrock water supply. They're being drawn from 100 to 300 feet down.
Right.
We're up here with a septic system. Dilution is the solution to pollution and all of that. And as it gets diluted and goes into the bedrock water supply, it's really well diluted. And all the health contaminants, all the health threats are diluted or disappear. They disappear. Chemical reactions,
Okay.
biodegradation.
Thank you for explaining that. Thank you for explaining that.
Thank you.
Do either of you have any other questions? Okay. Does anyone have any questions or concerns?
From 91 Klondike Road, so right next door.
Okay, if you can just come right up, have a seat, just identify yourself for our record.
Sherry Morrison, 91 Klondike Road.
Okay.
Obviously, I got this in the mail, a little concerned. I know they have a very small lot, and actually, I'm kind of happy they're upgrading it because it's probably not
Better for
very
the
good,
environment, yeah.
But what type of, I think you made a good explanation there that you just said, you know, the chances of that contaminating my well
It's
are
remote.
remote.
One of the things we do recommend, if you choose to, and it's wise, at least go in and test your well. All you need to do is a simple, what they call a Title V well test. Just 3 things you're looking for. You're looking for coliform, nitrates, nitrites, and just if you tell the well testing company. And what that does is you set a baseline.
Is that something I would do?
Yeah, you could do
Or
that.
is that something
just
they
to
would do?
No, something that you would do to protect yourself.
Okay.
So you set a baseline today before they put it in.
Okay,
Then if they put it in and something starts to go wrong with your well, at least you can say, hey, I didn't have a problem before, now I do. Let's check that system to see if that system is contaminating my well,
okay.
okay?
And what was that called again?
It's called a Title V well test.
Okay,
And all, like I say, all you're doing is establishing a baseline,
okay,
okay?
And just a word of advice, it would take a couple of months of regular use of the new system before you would even know, like, don't spend your money a week after they put it in.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
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 it would take at least that, a couple of months. or
yeah, at least that.
6 months or a year.
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
But,
But
you know, I mean,
it's-
unfortunately, we can't make the homeowner here test your well.
Okay,
We can't make him do that, so.
But what I can say is, though, then now they'll have a septic tank, which allows the solids to settle in the tank, and only the wastewater go to the leach field, which is a much better environmentally and, yeah, for wells and so forth, yeah.
I hate to say it, but it's almost swimmable. So it's almost swimmable by the time it gets to the groundwater,
so
so.
I shouldn't really be that concerned.
It really shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Any other questions?
No, I think that was really it. I think you guys answered it all. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much.
Appreciate your questions, thank you for being concerned.
Okay, so any other discussion? If not, we will close the public hearing. I will close the public hearing at 6:42 PM. So now what we would need to do is entertain a motion to, all of this, all the,
Just to approve the list,
yeah,
the list presented,
right, for application for local,
1 through 8.
that's for
Make a
89.
motion to
Yep.
approve, what?
The septic plan
The septic plan
application.
application for local upgrade, 1 through 8,
yep, for,
489 Klondike Road in Dudley, right? Is it in Dudley?
It is.
I second that motion.
okay, a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Passes unanimously. Okay. Thank you. Number 4 is the public hearing for 82 Klondike Road septic plan application for local upgrade approval.
Correct.
Okay. Do we have green cards for that one?
Yes, we do.
Beautiful. And what I will do is open the public hearing at 6:43 PM for that. So this is for 82 Klondike Road. Thank you. Perfect. It's the septic plan for local upgrade approval, and I'll just read through them. The proposed soil absorption system does not meet the required setback from a well, 100 feet to 53 feet. Soil absorption system does not meet the required setback from a well, 100 feet to 60 feet. And soil absorption does not meet the required setback from a property line, 10 feet required, 6 feet provided. And then the proposed SAS does not meet the required setback from a foundation, 20 feet to 11. And then the septic tank does not meet the required setback from a foundation, 10 feet needed, 6 feet provided. Okay.
Yes, and as you read through those, I'm thinking to myself, this must sound like a lot of local upgrades that we're asking for. But especially on these types of lots, and more especially on this one, which is on the water, there's a balance that we're trying to maintain between the location of the septic system and protection of the lake as well. So this one is in, I guess some people consider their backyard to be the roadside when they live on a lake. It's
So
on
it's-
it's on the roadside.
Okay.
And if we were to propose something on the lakeside, it would never get through conservation. And so there's a very limited area adjacent to the road to place this system. And this system is, I mean, this lot is even more constrained than the previous lot.
And what size house is this?
This is also a three-bedroom.
three-bedroom.
Yep.
There's the road. It's the existing house.
How far is the setback from the road?
And is this where the one
I can't see.
Is this
That's
the
the one
septic here?
from the road?
That's
10
the
feet.
leach field.
Okay.
Proposed leach field. were looking for.
Oh, yeah, there it is, sorry.
What there's shout outs for each one
Yep.
of the, each one of the things.
You're providing better than what,
Absolutely.
better
Yeah.
than what was there, so.
Exactly, and that's the focus that we try to maintain, is that it's an overall improvement.
This,
Yeah,
this house was one that had a catastrophic event back 10 or 15 years ago, and they did a emergency repair on the septic system because the fire truck dropped through the existing system that was there.
Okay.
There were a few things. There was a jury rig thing that was
Yep.
done. I remember it was the fire that was there, so. I
Okay.
walked up to the site and I said, oh, I remember this place.
Okay. Do you, either one of you have any questions for Tom?
No? It's the same as before, right? 100, but it says 53. Okay.
yeah.
Because that's
Still
all the space
compliant.
that there was available.
Yeah, you-
Sometimes what they do is you have to pick a compromise. It all depends. We try to insult as few people as possible, or.
Or try to insult yourself even more.
You insult yourself before you insult somebody
Yeah.
else.
I'm just curious, what's the lot? Is it level? Is it slanted?
No,
no,
it's,
It
this
is.
one is,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
they're gonna be
it's
pumping
a-
up?
It's a big walkout at the
Are they gonna
back.
be pumping up?
This one is, no, this is a gravity.
This is
fed
a gravity
system.
feed.
Okay.
They got
So
the
it's the other way?
foundation up high enough.
Yep,
Okay, I'm just curious.
and then there's a walkout in the back
But
that
there is-
goes out
you're
to the
right.
lake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Walk out on the backside.
Okay. Any other discussion regarding this? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Public hearing closed at 6:47 PM. So then I will entertain a motion for 82 Klondike Road, the septic plan application for local upgrade approval, items 1 through 5.
Do you want to do this one?
I make a motion to accept the public hearing septic plan application for local upgrade approval for 82 Klondike Road, items 1 through 5.
I second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Yeah,
Appreciate your time.
not a problem.
Can't see now. Okay. Item number 5, nail salon regulation discussion. Streamlining sanitation requirements. So, I know we haven't had a chance to really touch base on that any more than last meeting, so I think what we'll just do is carry it over to the next meeting.
Yeah, we were talking about having a workshop on that too.
Yes. Yes.
As well, so.
Yeah, we'll just carry over for the next meeting. It'll be on the next agenda. Okay, item number 6, loss of tobacco inspection services. Tom, did you go to a class on that?
Yes, I did.
Did you learn
I
anything?
attended, yes. According to the Worcester Tobacco Control Consortium, or collaborative, is not, have decided they're not going to continue with doing our inspections and enforcement and support for tobacco control. The state was represented there as well. The Massachusetts Tobacco Control Collaborative has said that they would offer training and assistance on how to go about and how to establish your compliance checks and inspections and all of that, and train individuals for free to do it. I went to another meeting and in another location, and MHOA, the Mass Health Officers Associations, were stepping up as well. They were offering pretty much the same services. So, and there's a third thing that we were talking about at the last meeting. There's a possibility that a sub-consortium of some type, Southern Worcester County, might be in the works. A couple of towns were talking about hiring and having some shoppers and inspectors and all of that. And
So this is something that we would have to have money for, obviously.
exactly, there is no more money.
Right, even if we did it on our own or we would have to hire, first they'd have to be trained.
Right.
But you would have to hire people, and obviously we'd have to pay them, so this is something
It's a budget item, right?
that's gonna bring up a concern. So I will have to meet with John to let him know that this has just recently come up,
Yeah.
so now,
They just surprised us with their
absolutely.
decision not to go with it. How the whole program worked is, the Massachusetts Tobacco Control Collaborative, they collected revenues from all the tobacco sales. And they were issuing grants back to the communities that needed tobacco sales and programs and licensing, as well as tobacco control and enforcement and regulation checks and compliance checks. And the easiest way and the smartest way to do it was to have a bigger city doing it instead of each of the small communities. I remember I was involved in one of the communities. I think we were going to get something like $19 a month or something like that and it wasn't worth it for the effort that we had to go through. The easier thing to do was to hire the collaborative to do it. And that's where all the grant money went to. Well, as they keep doing their job, the funding kept shrinking. The smokers' population went from 27% down to 14% or 15%. They've cut about half of the smokers out. So the funds are drying up. There's not enough incentive there to keep Worcester as a willing participant. We would not be able to go back and go for our own small stretch, our own small piece of the money. What we'd have to do is we'd have to go in with a block of people. So that's what we're doing. We're going to search the block of people, but in the meantime, we'll see if we can find a way to work on the free training. One of the other things they did suggest was, and they strongly suggested it, was that we start raising our tobacco fees. The days of the $50 and $100 fees are gone. For a lot of the communities, they're up at $400 and $500 now for the privilege to sell cigarettes.
So that's
The
something.
fines are usually, those $100, $200, and $300 fines are now $500 to $1,000 or more.
Okay. Can you, for the next meeting, do a survey of like surrounding towns, see what they're charging?
Sure.
And what their fines are, so that we can, by the time we renew in January, we can have the fees upped to the proper.
Right. They've suggested a lot of different things for, you can put caps on numbers of tobacco, like the
Like,
alcohol licenses. You can do caps on vape shops. You can do caps on tobacco licenses that are out there. A lot of different approaches and and then in light of all the other litigation that's going on right now with the e-cigarettes and vapes and all of that, we're literally waiting for the smoke to clear.
right. Yeah, definitely.
Several communities are being sued. Some have won. Some won the suits, and I don't think we're in a position right now to stand up against big tobacco.
No, I think it's best that
we'd
we
have
let
to
other
wait till-
towns do, and then,
The cluster.
Wait and see what happens.
yes, sit back and watch and see what happens. Right, great.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, item number 7, regulation of fowl and animals discussion. So we did have several other regulations. What I did is I took one that I really liked, worked with that, took a few other things, and kind of compiled something that I wanted there's things that we discussed that we wanted in, so if you want to take a look at that. What I'd like to do is for August, hold a public hearing, so that we can really get moving on these. I think that, I take a minute, look it through, see if there's something missing that you wanted that I didn't get in there, see if there's a typo.
I think you took a
I'm
nice
just making a note.
combination.
I think that, you're excluding dogs and cats because of the animal control rules, or I think ferrets are included in that group.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Well, we'll have to research
Yeah.
that out further. That's why
Okay,
I'm just making a note.
that's, no, that's fine, because I'm sure there's a
Check.
typo or something. This was done on the fly.
And then we didn't put anything in here about reptiles
No.
or alligators in Chicago.
And then at the end of it is when we discuss the fee and when we should renew it. So just take a couple minutes, please.
What's residential 87?
It's a zoning district,
Yeah, but what,
2 acres or
two,
more.
two of them, okay.
Yeah, and that's what I tweaked it for our zoning bylaws.
Yep.
Like, Res 10 is not listed because they're not permitted in Res 10 by the zoning bylaws. So why, and they're not permitted in any industrial zoning districts. So,
No animals in industrial? zone?
no, they're not permitted for a special permit. So unless you have over 5 acres, then you automatically are under the farm agricultural. So I wasn't gonna mess with the zoning, figured that's why I tweaked it according to zoning.
Do we know what some of the other towns charge for fees?
I don't, I couldn't.
Couldn't find any.
Couldn't find any.
I was just looking here, too.
I don't think I saw anything in here either.
No, and I did some more searching today to see about fees, and nothing ever came,
Fees for animals?
yeah, so,
Oh,
Like to apply for the permit. and
Right,
then
'cause-
yeah,
what's-
I did this before. I've got it in my computer at home. I did a kind of a survey around the southern Worcester County area. I know I've got some numbers from Spencer and the
because I don't
Brookfield.
even know, like, I want to be reasonable, because it's going to take the effort of the ACO animal inspector to go out,
There's a
and
fine.
also,
Well,
if
that's
not,
the
it will be
idea,
one
is
of
we're
the
looking
us.
to
and-
support,
Right,
to make it so that it's cost effective.
exactly.
Right.
So,
There's fines in here, but no application fee.
right, and I have the fines.
I have an application, a couple of application
Okay.
samples.
And then my next question was, what about renewing it July 1st? Like we do the nail salons, because we do restaurants and septic and all the other stuff January 1st. So why not break it up a little bit? And then this way, it gives her the summer months to go inspect rather
In
than
the winter, yeah.
the winter.
She has a specific time of the year that she has to do her barn inspections.
They have to be done before the end of the year.
I
So-
think, yeah, it's usually done in October.
So this way, if that would be a good, that's my opinion, if we renew it in July, and if we implement this, it still gives them 3 months. That I put in there for the buffer, 3 months to comply. That's reasonable. It gives them time to go get their special permit from the zoning, the ZBA, and then come to us, or come to us and then go, you know what I mean?
Yep.
I like that.
So,
So October, July.
July. And then you'll get us you can get Ted some costs, and we can discuss that at the public hearing for definite.
Yep.
We'll add something about household pets.
I have, let's see. Animals that are normally kept inside in an owner's residential dwelling. Dogs, cats, ferret,
So you're gonna put
You're
ferrets?
gonna add that, but
fish, domesticated or exotic birds, certain reptiles, guinea pigs, pigs, hamsters, and mice. So what we could do is where it said, but excluding dogs and cats, I can put in that,
Add in.
I can put in excluding household pets and then put the whole
In
explanation.
parentheses,
Does
yeah.
that sound?
Yeah, that makes sense.
What I-
Household.
Yeah, I'll find out what the correct term, they've got
It's
it
in-
listed as a correct term.
It's in there, and I'm gonna steal that from you.
Which town was that?
I don't know. I'll unclip it.
I think that was the Foxborough one.
But I'm gonna take that pot-bellied pig out of there.
Yeah, we'll discuss some of these. I'm not sure that we want to use some of these as a unit. You know, deer, bovine, all of that, but rabbits,
Rabbits are included in the fowl.
yeah.
Look at the one I circled, household. You see it?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
That's what we would,
Add that.
but instead of saying, but excluding dogs and cats, put household pets, and then
Give a list.
give the, you know, I can list them all, or the majority of them that we would like.
Does that mean that they're not allowed to go outside to
They can go and do their business.
do their business outside?
Yes.
They have to be restricted to their property.
Unless they've
Right.
learned how to use the toilet.
Can't leave an animal outside on a tether.
Or unattended.
Well, some people might have a tether like they do with dogs.
Yeah.
They leave them outside on a leash
Rooster.
or on
Can
a,
you take this out?
Are you gonna put the wild animal, exotic birds, anything about that? in
So,
there too?
let's see. So I basically want, so do you want me to put that whole, but excluding household pets, animals that are normally kept inside an owner's residential dwelling or commercial, I don't want commercial building, including but not limited to dogs, cats, ferrets, fish, domesticated or exotic birds, certain reptiles, guinea pigs, hamsters, and mice. Because that kind of, is that good?
it covers,
I'm gonna take a picture of that so that
you use the general term of all animals, including but not limited to.
hold on. Now I gotta,
Yeah.
household
That's
pets,
Including but not
This
limited
is
to.
Foxborough.
hold on, including over. Including, but not limited to,
And then go through that.
and then list of pets explained. Okay. Anything else that you'd like?
I don't think so. I think you covered everything. You talked about the cleanup, I saw that.
Yep.
That was important. And then the neighbors, I thought was pretty important. You don't want too close to the neighbors.
Right, and I did it, I went by other towns that, you know, if you have 6, they, and again, they have to be confined and but if you have 6, you obviously can be a little closer. When you get to larger amounts, you want to be further away.
Yep. July. Oh my God.
So then if everybody thinks what we could do is hold a public hearing in August, I'll have Ted, so he'll have to post it in, does he have to advertise in the newspaper for the public hearing?
I think you don't have to do the complete issue, the complete subject. All you have to do is do the topic.
Right, and just advertise in the newspaper, right, for
But
2
you're
weeks?
gonna, I think it's only one, but you can give it to 2.
We'll advertise for 2 weeks.
It should be one, the first one should be at least 10 days before the meeting.
Yep.
And will they put it up on the website?
Yeah.
Or I would probably do it as 2 weeks and then, or 20 days and then 10 days before.
Okay.
That way you'll cover all the bases.
So,
Okay, so we'll have Ted take care of that, and we'll
And
hold.
in whatever newspaper you choose to use, a regional publication.
Yeah, most likely I'll have him do the Webster Times.
Webster Times.
Yeah. And I'll make sure that he posts the agenda and the notice will be
Post it on
posted on the
the
website
website,
and
and
in the town hall, the
And
town
it'll be
clerks.
posted down at the town clerk's office.
Right. I'll have him take care of that when he comes
And the
back
Board of
next
Health
week.
office.
Yep. And so what I'll have him do is get this cleaned up, and we'll have copies of this for the next meeting. I will also send it off to town council for review prior to public hearing.
Right.
They're aware of it, they've been working on parts of it, so we'll just make sure that everything is good. Okay, excellent. Number 8, health inspector's report.
Generally, we talked about the tobacco control. I did have a meeting as a couple of issues. One was Nichols Dining Room. I guess they're getting ready they're finishing their renovations, and they just had some questions on their finish ingredients that they needed for their dining hall. Other than a couple of housing problems, everything really is under control. We've had a couple of issues that we're in the middle of dealing with, and we're on the right side. We're going to get resolution to some of these problems. Okay?
Excellent. Okay, one thing that, just as an FYI, we were contacted by the Charlton Board of Health. They're getting together, they've been contacting other towns to see if local boards of health would be interested in going in on a hazardous waste day, where people could come and dispose of items. They would, you know, and I said definitely we'd be interested in learning more about it, perhaps participating, explained our budget is, and they were going to put what it would be was you put the price on the town of people.
They got their budget cut.
Yes.
And what they're looking to do is co-sponsor
Yep.
with other communities that are willing to put up money.
I said I'd be willing to meet.
If you're not willing to put up money, then
I explained to them that I'd be willing to meet, but we don't
Yep.
have any money.
Yep.
We'd be willing to do a hazardous waste collection day, but people would have to pay to dispose of items, and, you know, it's not something that we can actively fund right now because our hazardous waste budget was cut
it was eliminated.
10 years ago,
Yeah.
you know, so.
We've been actually doing pretty well with that, that New England disposal down at 146 in Sutton.
Right.
One of our other problems was latex paint, and I just learned that if you go to Home Depot for $1 or whatever the size of the packet is, you add this packet to 2/3 of a gallon of latex paint, and it turns it solid, and you can throw it in your trash. So there's no liquid waste going out into
Right.
the waste stream now.
So.
So
I
just
can
as
give you
just as a public service announcement.
Yeah.
I don't know the name of the product, and I don't think it's appropriate, but they do have it right on the paint counter.
Yeah. I can tell you when it's really hot out, if you just leave it out there, it totally dries. You can just pull it right out in a
Is
nice
that right?
little ball. Yep,
Yep.
that's what
works
I did
too.
this
Great.
Memorial Day. It was so hot. I had left the paint can out. And it literally pulled right out, and the can was clean. I had a big ball. It was kind of fun, but
Make a
anyways.
nice latex ball.
Yeah, it was fun. But anyways, anyone have anything else? Our next meeting will be Tuesday, August 20th, 6:30 p.m. So if nothing else, I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second that motion.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned at 7:09 p.m.